is Steve Rode, your Get Out of Debt guy from getoutofdebt.org. Today we're going to be talking about the best way to budget for home improvements. A lovely reader asked me recently how to best budget for a home improvement project. Since she's in the middle of dealing with a garage addition to her property, she wanted to know if early financial surprises in the project would be an indication of later pocketbook misfortune. Well, it turns out I happen to know a very knowledgeable fellow who has experience in dealing with all types of projects, from the small DIY project to building massive apartment developments. I picked up the phone and got together with Craig Ferry, owner of Front Street Construction, and asked for his advice. Craig said when it comes to renovating an older home, there are often surprises beyond the control of either the homeowner or the contractor. Sometimes opening an old wall leads to hidden expenses that could have never been forecast. New construction, Craig said, was more controllable when it came to getting a grip on the cost, but there was still going to be some surprises.
It's tough because, like, for a homeowner and a builder, for anybody to accurately estimate it, they have to know all the unknowns. And they don't know all the unknowns, that's why they're unknowns.
Having completed some home improvement and renovation projects myself, the entire process is not for those who want ultimate control and must have the project end to the penny of what was first anticipated. Well, that is unless you significantly trim back expectations and budget a contingency amount to the project and prepare for unexpected events. The reader ran into some early surprises on her project that increased cost, so I asked if the best advice is to plan your budget for less than you can afford.
Absolutely, you have to have contingency for just that reason. And you can't expect the builder alone to have contingency. The builder's going to have contingency in his number too, to cover the things that he has done wrong and doesn't want to tell you that he did wrong.
Nobody's perfect, so it was refreshing to hear Craig say that even an experienced contractor can run into issues they have to cover without passing the cost on to the homeowner. When it comes to starting to get a grip on what the project will actually cost, Craig recommends that you get bids from at least 3 companies, even if you know the guy that you've picked to tackle your renovation.
It's a good idea to get numbers from other people. Not necessarily to use them, like you should, if you've decided you're going to use one guy, don't run a bunch of other GCs through the hassle of pricing something they're not going to build.
When talking to others and even in my own experience, getting 3 estimates can be both frustrating and confusing. It's frustrating in that it's hard to even get contractors to show up sometimes for an estimate, and even then, you might not get the estimate at all. And confusing, well, in that sometimes the 3 estimates you get are not even close. So who do you select?
And don't necessarily go with the low number. If there's a low number that's very low, more than likely it's because he's missed something. Then you're going to get, hopefully, at least 3 people that are comfortable with the price. And the chances of you being surprised by something unknown is probably less.
Craig agreed that going into these home improvement and renovation projects is going to eventually lead to a final number other than what was planned.
More than likely it's not going to be the final number.
When pressed for a buffer that homeowners should add into their budget, even after deciding on the favored contractor, Craig felt 15 to 20% was a reasonable margin to leave for surprises.
More than likely, the number is going to creep up.
But before you get all depressed that your budget is just going to not be accurate before you begin, there are some ways to help keep the budget under control. Craig suggested asking the contractors to bid on a guaranteed maximum with shared savings contract. It's an approach used in the commercial construction world, but it's applicable to the home renovation as well.
You can go into a deal with your contractor with a shared savings type of deal, where everybody agrees on a number, and that number includes a contingency line item. And the builder identifies, he shows you up front, here's all my costs, here's my overhead, here's my profit.
And then at the end of the project, you share the savings. That's a fairly common way to do that. It incentivizes the contractor to do things as cost effectively as possible. But one thing a homeowner can do is ask their contractor to show them the budget the contractor has prepared.
Every GC, whether they're sophisticated or not, they're going to have a chart of accounts, a list of line items, starting with like foundations, slabs, framing, and so on. All these line items, and they're going to have some budget number associated with that line item, and usually it's going to be some sort of bid from a sub. So to share that information with you is very fair.
But where's a homeowner even going to start to get a ballpark idea of what a project will cost? Well, on my site at getoutofdebt.org, I've got some links to help you with that. Building that contingency into your overall budget seems like the only way a homeowner can even begin a home renovation or improvement contract with any sort of confidence it will fall into the allocated money on hand. As a final note, Craig added, any money left over at the end of the project that's been set aside for unexpected expenses can always be used to make your finishing touches a little more high-end. That's smart. This is Steve Rode, your Get Out of Debt guy from getoutofdebt.org. If you have a question you'd like to ask, just visit the site. Ask away. I'm happy to help you totally for free.